So this is definitely an advanced lesson about how can I take somebody who doesn't make any insulin and improve the way she not only controls her blood sugar, but how can we get this 100-pound weight off of her? And this past week, we had a huge marker in that she did a 36, actually, it turned out to be 41-hour fast.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell people about this fast? Why, first of all, have you ever fasted before?
I mean, I've done the girl thing. Every girl's like starved themselves, at some point in their life.
Right?
But
Okay.
not like with like intent and purpose and like really knowing what I was doing.
Right.
So yeah, we did Wednesday because you got back on Tuesday or something. So Annette said I had to wait until
Couldn't do it when I was out of town.
so Wednesday at 5-ish we were going to start, but then I ended up having lunch with a friend early that day and we had a big lunch, and then I just said screw it, I'll just start now. So we went.
So you started at 2 o'clock on Wednesday,
Yep.
and that wasn't that tough. The first day wasn't that tough. You got up,
No.
and we had
No,
planned
that was
it.
Wednesday. It was Wednesday.
Right. Oh yeah, Wednesday. Right. And we had planned it because Thursday you had a really full and busy day.
Yes.
Right. So you got up on. So before you did that though, you actually came home that night. You had supper ready for the kids, and you had told them. You had told them that you're going to fast, and you have two teenage boys.
Yeah.
Tell me about
So
that.
I said I had to work on Wednesday night. So I told my oldest, I said, here's what's for dinner. Go ahead and eat and then put everything away because I can't have dinner tonight. And he was like, why? I said, because I'm fasting. Why? Like Annette wants me to. Oh, okay.
As long as you've got doctor's
But he was so confused, like, what? Why?
Yeah, for his whole life, for his working memory, you've had the instructions from your physicians to eat every 2 to 3 hours and to never be too far away. I mean, he's, as your oldest son especially, been informed that if mom is acting funny, get her some sugar. This is important. It's probably a low blood sugar. Here's what to do, right?
Right.
So no food for a day or plus. And
Right.
mm-hmm. All right, so let's walk through this. So you wake up on Thursday morning and you head off, and you had some black coffee, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I had a lot of black coffee on Thursday, but headed off to work, and well, before I left, I decided. So on Wednesday, I don't know if you guys remember about a month ago when I talked about how I run out of insulin every month. Well, that day was Wednesday again. So I only gave myself 12 units of Lantus that day.
Right. So yeah, let's just unpack this. So at the beginning of this story, when we started, we were up to almost 100 units of insulin a day when you included the long-acting and the short-acting insulin, right?
Right.
And when we went to ketogenic diet, when we got those carbs less than 30, we took you to long-acting insulin around 55-ish, and then short-acting, we had kind of a variable plan. Over the course of this past two and a half months, we've taken that 55 down to 45, and a couple of times tried to even get to 40. And then there's this, mess last month where you accidentally injected twice in 24 hours, 24-hour acting insulin. It's okay,
Yeah.
lesson learned. So that was your only low that we've ever had, and it really was just that accident of 2 insulin doses in a 24-hour period.
Right.
So this month, when you ran out of insulin, your insulin's going to keep lasting longer. It's going to be further apart that you run out. So
right. I know. So I only gave myself 12 units on Wednesday, and then Thursday was like the first full day that I was going to fast. And I made an executive decision, and I said, I'm not going to give myself any.
Right.
Because I was scared. I was really scared to go to work all day. I had like 8 colors that day. It was craziness. There was like, it's just constant going. And I'm like, I don't want to crash, but I also don't want to eat. So I'm just not going to give myself insulin, and we're just going to see what happens.
Right. And in all fairness, for every internist out there, that was not my recommendation. But
sometimes it just, it's 7 o'clock in the morning and I don't always want to wake you up,
Right. A text, I would be awake. But at the same time, looking at what does insulin do? I mean, insulin is the drug that, I use the short term, it insulates. It takes glucose from your circulation and it puts it in storage, whether that's in your liver, whether that's in your fat cells. Insulin insulates. But in a diabetic, a type 1 diabetic, the ability to use glucose is dependent on whether or not there's insulin around. So it takes it from circulation and it puts it inside the cells. And so when it's in your blood, it can get into your brain, but insulin is needed to do the next step. So your body really couldn't use the glucose if you didn't have any insulin. Now, do I think you have zero insulin? When we checked, your numbers you had pretty strong antibodies. And so I think if you make any insulin, it's super, super, super low. So, but we haven't checked that in over 8 years. So could your body make a trickle of insulin? Maybe. But I would essentially say that on Thursday, the day of the fast, your body had zero insulin. Now, what did your sugars do on Thursday?
They pissed me off.
Totally. She's like, what is this?
You guys, okay, so I was like going on 24 hours, almost to 24 hours in between clients, checked my blood sugar. It was like, what was it, 319?
Yeah, you called me. Like, what?
I was mad. I was like, what?
Mm-hmm.
I'm having lunch then. I don't even care. But I didn't. I called Annette instead.
There you go. So, and what was great was you were at that point more than 24 hours since eating. So it was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We're 24 hours into the fast, a little further along than we had expected because you'd had a big lunch and then at 2 o'clock the day before and said, instead of supper, I'm just going to call it good. I feel good. And so here we are 24 hours into this fast and your sugars are over 300. But at the same time, how did you feel?
I felt so fine. Like I was so shocked how fine I felt. Like the only emotional outbursts I had were when I had that 300. And then what I've been doing lately, I feel like is, I just have coffee in the morning and I just have like kind of one big meal ish in the mid afternoon is kind of what seems to work for me.
Right.
So on Thursday, when I hit like that 5 o'clock mark, I was kind of like, I'm really excited to go float with Annette.
Right. So I said, I'm going to treat you. And then I tried to tempt you saying, let's do this. And you're like, I don't think I'll need it. I'll be fine. And I'm like, no, I actually want you to plan on thinking about this somewhere in the first 24 hours, in that day of fasting. And I said, you can cancel, but I'm going to schedule you a float at 7 after you're done with your day's work. And you had, again, a client right up till 7 o'clock. So I said, all right, 7:15, we're going to meet at the float. I'm going to buy you a float and just go float with you. That to watch.
We were in separate pods, though, by the way. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. So they're great. We're good friends, but yeah, there's a level, right? But again, some of the things that people don't appreciate what happened in a fast is, number one, you can get a pretty high ketone level. And especially being a type 1 diabetic, this is a place where if we leave you unchecked for too long, you can get really high blood sugars and you can get really high ketones. You are the person who would get ketoacidosis, which is, again, when you look at some of the naysayers about the ketogenic diet, one of those naysaying is, you can get acidic and you can really hurt your body and you can crash and go into a coma and you can die. And the one person who can do that is actually Lachlyn. So this is why this is very supervised. When you told several of your clients that day that you were fasting,
they were nervous. They were like, "Are you sure you can cut my hair? Are you sure you're okay? Aren't you supposed to like eat and take insulin or like is this like doctor recommended or why are you doing this? But I don't know if you should do it." And then they were all worried about me and their hair. I get it.
Yeah, we are women. We start messing with our hair and suddenly we're like, yeah.
Right.
So, and that's the best part about this was you could with confidence for the first time in 8+ years say, no, I actually feel really good. I feel fine.
Like I'm good.
Your body wasn't making any ketones when we started. We put some in with ketones in a can, but they only last a couple of hours. So you got to either be sipping on them all day long or dose them 3 times a day. Either way, we kind of wake up a little bit of that blood-brain barrier. Then we added some MCT and we put that in your morning coffee. And now we've got your liver making ketones. But once again, it only makes ketones for like every 4 to 5 hours is how long it will raise those ketones with an MCT. And now we did something remarkable, which was we said, let's take her body and deprive it of all glucose coming in for 36 hours and watch to see. I wasn't planning on no insulin, but so your sugars went up. But what did your ketones do during those? I think it was you texted me. Was it Friday morning right before you ate? You checked your ketones?
Yes, they went up too.
Yeah, right? Like
Yeah.
1.9
Which
was
I
what?
didn't eat. I didn't drink any of the hydrogenized, whatever that word is, ketones the day before.
Yeah, so yeah, the exogenous ketones, you didn't have any of those during your fast, right?
Right.
Yeah, and there's been times where you went to one meal a day where I said it's okay when you're not eating, you can still supply your body with either those ketones in a can or have your coffee that has the MCT in it, and the whole time I'm boosting the ketones that are in your blood to try and keep the fuel steadily delivered to your brain so that you do not have any hypoglycemic event. You have no times when your brain says, hey, the sugar's too low, I can't fuel it. We have a backup plan for your fuel, which has been ketones. And we don't have it for a couple of days. You've done this for 3 months. And now we took away food for, actually, that's not 41 hours. 41 hours. So on Friday, when you went to eat, talk about the first food so you got up on Friday morning. What was do you remember your sugar?
Sick. So Friday morning I woke up and I was like really excited to make some bacon and I have my delicious coffee that I like to have. Mm-hmm. And so I'm making my bacon and eggs and drinking my coffee, and then I could barely eat very much breakfast because it was really full really fast.
So yeah, it's amazing to me whenever I had fasted for the first time, I kept thinking I was going to eat this huge meal, and then it especially if you drink something like I have the coffee, absolutely was what I did too, and I couldn't believe okay, I'm really not hungry. 2 pieces of bacon and I'm really done.
Right?
Yeah. And then you had a nice meal that night with your friend though, celebrating that.
Yes. I got off work and I was like, okay, no, I'm hungry.
No,
I'm really hungry now.
And how much insulin did you give on Friday?
On Friday, like the Lantus?
Yeah, this was your first day of having the pen back.
40. I had 40. 40 units. Mm-hmm. And I did 40 Saturday and 40 today.
Okay. So what's remarkable is, so every time people do a fast,
yep,
especially in a situation like yours where you are keto adapted, you've got a system where the mitochondria know what to do with a ketone. But you had hit a nice rhythm where you were eating 1 meal a day and your sugars and ketones were pretty stable. And really what was frustrating to you is you hadn't lost any weight. Part of that is years of having insulin resistance and saying, I'm sorry, you have so much storage in your liver and in your muscle cells that every time we lower your insulin, it lets out a bunch of glucose that's been stored for so long, but it really doesn't give you the what we call lipolysis, meaning the breaking down of your fat to fuel your body. So you had this 41-hour fast. And that was, again, started Wednesday, ended Friday morning. You had 2 nights of sleep, so that's the trick to do a 36-hour fast is you have supper-ish. You actually had a kind of mid-afternoon and then slept, and then again doing the float the second night, very helpful. Keeps you away from the kitchen, shuts your brain down, adds some magnesium, which can be really unsettling if they're low on that. And then you lost weight loss. What was your weight loss?
I lost 8 pounds.
Yes, that's so amazing. And now you're 4 days, 3 days after the fast has been broken. And did the weight come back on?
It did not.
Yes. So that is powerful. That is a keto adaptive
fast. Every other time I've starved myself in the past, whatever you lose, you gain right back.
Right. And all you're doing when you fast from a glucose-heavy diet to, that starvation stuff, is you're getting rid of a lot of water weight. And of course, then they eat carbs when they get back on the diet, then they stop their starvation, and then that just puts the water weight back on. So in this case, no, the water weight's been gone for a while. And you've noticed that. You've said, boy, I can't believe how much better my rings fit, and just how I feel less achy. And so your fast, especially when you didn't use any insulin, tapped into your fat storage. And so you emptied 8 pounds of fat in that 36-hour, 41-hour fast. So that is such a big deal. I'm serious. I was not. I was hoping for 4 pounds. So it is awesome. But then today, what was your morning fasting sugar today?
111.
Yes, that's one of your best fasting sugars, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I feel like, especially coming off of where I didn't have basically any long-acting insulin for 2 days.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that the next time we do a fast, we're going to lower your long-acting insulin, but we're not going to go to zero, because it is really hard on your kidneys, and it does really swell things up when you push the sugars that high and then we come back down. So, but I get it. It's really hard to say, wait a minute, you're going to say no, I'm going to have
the second time around, I know I'm not going to die. I was just really worried about that.
And, you have type 1 diabetes, that fear of death is actually not just you. It's everybody.
Yeah, I know I say everything kind of in a sarcastic, jokey voice, but it was real. I really was scared.
To convince her to do this, we're 12 weeks in, and I'm like, I think you can do this, but then again, don't do it when I'm out of town. I want to get around, and then Jackson has my number. And it's real, because that equation is, it is a powerful teaching tool that I can't wait.
My ketones this morning were 1.9 though.
And see, that is the part of the metabolism that I couldn't do with exogenous supplements. So again, we started out with ketones in a can, and then we added the MCT. And when you do a fast, what you did was stress all of those mitochondria to produce that level of ketone on their own, and that is sustainable. That's where you say, wow, my energy level is still so much better after fasting. Wow, I can focus after fasting. And, everywhere from back to the Bible, when you've got a problem, for thousands of years, they've said, if you want mental clarity, fast and pray. And it is amazing. Praying for you not to die was probably where your prayers were for that fast. But the key is, you stressed your body to produce ketones at a much higher level than you ever had before. And I think that in and of itself is what is so exciting for me, is to say, look at how advanced your metabolism is. The other thing that I need to send a lot of praise for you is your mental focus and discipline to say no to food. I know that it took me 6 months to be able to say, could I do this? So in 12 weeks, your brain has gone from, okay, could I possibly say no to food, 1 meal a day? And you did great with that. But I can count on less than 2 hands how many people have done a 36-hour fast within the first 6 months of going keto. So I just need to say kudos for your discipline, for your commitment. And then your ability to just share it with everybody is powerful. So I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah. So you're headed to a big...
Please subscribe to my channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos. Stay tuned.